Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Vegas Beat, courtesy of DocSports. I'm Tony George. He's Griffin Murphy right there. Of course, coming to us not from Chicago, but you're down in Phoenix, Arizona, Scottsdale area this week and weekend, enjoying the sun and the all the other accoutrements involved with the lifestyle down there in the desert. How's it going?
It's going well, Tony. I there's a reason I left this place, and now it's really starting to settle in. This morning I started realizing, God damn, all right, now I remember why I did leave this place. A lot of fun, a lot of action, a lot of things to do. But I'm great, man. I couldn't be happier. Weather's been beautiful. I've been laying out at the pool every day, getting my workouts, and sticking on the grind. And when we're winning games, yesterday swept my prop card at a 7-unit prop card. 3 plays inside of that, clean sweep, won 6 prop plays in a row. I'm great, Tony. I'm great. We're back in the Vegas beat. We're locked in. Let's get it rolling. How are you doing over there?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. Had a down day in baseball yesterday. I really liked Cincinnati against Pittsburgh, and it was a 1-0 grind loss.
Mm-hmm.
Then one of my staff cappers took Miami against Chicago Cubs at plus 120, and they got waxed 14 to, I don't even know what the score
was. Looked like
was.
a trap line. I wasn't upset either.
We just had a small 2-unit play on it. I skipped the game last night, but I did take Gilgeous Alexander under 31.5, and he landed on 31. So I snuck in under that. And he only made 2 shots in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
But that's something I wanted to talk about, I guess. You and I had collectively gave out the under on Doc's Daily yesterday. But I did expect Minnesota to put up close to 100.
Mm-hmm.
And they got their ass kicked last night, 88-114. And I'm going to roll this into a comment about the NHL in a minute. But let's talk about that game real quick.
Sure.
I mean, you would think just like Carolina. I'm paralleling the 2 games last night where Florida went in there. Look, I had Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So behind the scenes yesterday, now I owe Nick 2 different wagers. I know he was pushing Florida there.
Oh, we talked about it last night while we were at the bar. Oh, yeah.
I'm sure that you did. I was
waiting. I got Tony's ass numbered.
Well, that's why I've never given Nick my cell phone number yet. But I thought I might get something rolling in there. I knew you 2 boys are going to go out on a little safari last night down there in old Scottsdale and tear it up and hit a casino or 2. But I found it interesting. I kind of thought if Minnesota was going to be able to win a game, it would be last night.
Sure.
I also thought if Carolina had a shot in the series, it would be last night if they could get Florida.
Yeah.
If they could get them last night, being Florida came off that grueling series against Toronto, and Carolina was unbeaten at home in the postseason. 14 out of the last 19 playoff games at home, Carolina has won. They had a lot of stuff in their favor. But that game last night, I just think Oklahoma City solidified themselves as the best team in the NBA. Your thoughts?
I couldn't agree anymore, Tony. I think that was just a straight-up statement game. Alexander, he torched 31 points. The whole team came together, and they really just doused Minnesota. They were never in the game from the start. Edwards was nowhere to be found. Julius Randle did it all for this team. That was the prime example, and you know what? I passed in the NBA yesterday, and right before that game tipped off, I looked at it, and I'm like, I'm betting this damn game. I was like, they're going to absolutely blast them right now. And they did. I just knew it. They're too deep. They've got 9 starters on that team. I don't think Minnesota has the depth. Minnesota just got through a dreadful series. I just think it's too deep for OKC. They proved it last night. They absolutely torched them. I don't see this series going any more than 5 games, Tony.
Yeah. By the way, here on the Vegas Beat, we are on top of things. Breaking news out of the NFL right now. The proposal to ban the tush push did not receive enough votes to pass. So the tush push is back in.
And they're saying that Kelsey, the reason he retired was because of the tush push. Did you see that? He got hurt.
No,
They're talking about that now. Chaos.
Oh, man. Of course, you can find Griff Murphy and myself over at DocSports.com. And of course, we always have this guarantee of taking care of people, and that includes a free $60 account to any new member. You can see the link right down there. There's also a tab on the website, for you young Z Generation Xers, if you got one of these right here. And by the way, Griff, I finally got a new phone. I was going to
say, man, you even got the holder on there. You got the latch. I saw that.
Yeah.
Open it up.
After 11 years, I got a phone. I'll tell you the story. I moved back to Kansas City, in late August of last year, I've been living in Vegas for almost 8 years. And my wife, my daughter, all my friends were looking at me going, "You still got that phone? What is that?" I guess like an iPhone 4. And they go, "What are you doing?" And some of the stuff I wanted to do, like social media, or it wouldn't work. My phone was so old. And the battery would only last like 20 minutes at this point, even if I didn't use it. If I got on and looked at Twitter or wanted to do something and scrolled up and down for 10 minutes, the battery would be dead. So I went into the store, and it happened to be the same Verizon store that I had went into 11 years ago. Okay. And this kid, he's in his early 20s. He came running, he goes, "Dude," he goes, "Do you know that you got this phone here almost 12 years ago?"
And it's time for a new phone.
And he took off the case. There wasn't a scratch on it. Not even on the glove, because I had the little ceramic cover I'd put on. He popped that off. He goes, this is like brand new. It's like showroom condition. But I finally upgraded and got the new phone. I like where I could push the little button there to get my screen up. Now I got to swipe up everything. But I still had the button on that bad boy.
Totally, this was 6 years ago, man. Where the hell you been?
I know you were giving me shit about it. We were out in Vegas, and you go, "Hey, dude, how old is that phone?" We were sitting there at the Mega Bar one night. I said, "My phone's dying." And I said, "Man, Griff, I got to get the something." And you were all pulling up. "What's wrong with your phone?" I said, "I don't know." You looked at it, you go, "Dude, that's like a freaking dinosaur. What are you doing with that little tiny?" But hey, I use it for texting and checking scores. I'm not one to sit on my phone and do Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. I'm not addicted to it. Mm-hmm. I have a wife that's addicted to hers. You sit at a restaurant or a bar, I'll look over, she's sitting there doing her Facebook thing or whatever, but I'm not that guy. But anyway, if you got one of these and you don't use a laptop, text the word Tony to 29022 and a link pops up on here. You can sign up and get a free $60 right on your phone. So be sure and do that. Now, Griff, I did something interesting as I thought I was going to go all in yesterday, and I had a sizable wager, even though it was just a 4-unit play. We talked about this on Doc's Daily on the Carolina and Florida Panther game last night. Mm-hmm. Now, when it opened up and the game started, Florida was minus 135 to win the series on the futures. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'm going to watch this because if Carolina can't win this freaking game with the set, I know that Florida is the better team, but this should be a game that Carolina could win. And maybe Carolina might pull out a can of whoop ass on them. And maybe the number will change. Sure. But I also thought if Florida comes in here and throttles them, that minus 135 is tasty.
Yeah.
So mid-second quarter, called up my buddy, Mark, out in Vegas. You know Mark, my buddy. Mm-hmm. He runs some wagers for me. I said, Give me 2 dimes on Florida.
There you go. All right.
Because I thought if Carolina can't, not only did they not win that game, they were not even competitive.
No.
I think that's a solid wager, dude. I think the Panthers going to get them in less than 7.
I mean, this is what the Panthers do. I mean, you've seen it last year. You've seen it the years on end. They are a playoff team. As soon as it comes to playoff contention, this team absolutely just spirals down. I mean, think about it 2 years ago when Boston they had like 70 wins on the year. They were unbeatable. They never even lost at home. They went in and cleaned them up to open up the playoffs, went all the way to the Stanley Cup and lost to the Knights, I want to say, in the Stanley Cup finals. I mean, This is a continuous trend out of the Panthers. And I mean, they did it. They proved it. Last night, we know Carolina, very dominant team at home. They needed to make a statement in game 1, and they failed to do so. And they went 16-21 on the road this season. Florida, they're pesky as all hell. They play good on the road. They play good at home. I think Florida's just a much better team. And that's who I liked Florida yesterday. I was on Florida, and we gave it out on the show yesterday. We said, if you like Carolina, take the under. If you like Florida, take the over. And that's exactly how it played out. 5-2 final, the over smacked.
Well, one thing about we're all in the Eastern and Western Conference finals now, in the NBA and the NHL. And I like to make my futures bets during or right after game 1. Because game 1 usually sets the tone.
Of course.
That you find a lot out about a team. Especially a really good team like Oklahoma City, for instance, last night. Yeah. Do they want to put their foot down and make a statement here? Because they got out of the gate shitty against Denver.
Yeah.
But that was not a conference final. It's different.
It's a different matchup too, Tony. That's something that I don't mean to cut you off, but Denver, it doesn't matter if you're in playoffs, Denver is always going to be a pesky beast. They prove it season in, season out. Every time you have to deal with that team in the playoffs, they're going to give you a hell of a fight. And that always goes back to, and I always go back to it, the altitude in Denver. They'll wear you the hell out, and it showed. Obviously, game 7, they torched the living hell out of them and packed their shit up. But looking at this series now, this is a completely different matchup. OKC, they proved a statement yesterday. They made that game a statement game, and they beat them by 30 points. So there's nothing really left to talk about as far as there's a lot to talk about. We can go into it. But at the same time, I think OKC just absolutely hammers them through this series and goes to the finals.
And what should be concerning to T-Wolves fan is the fact that Edwards limped off.
Nobody's talking about that. We just did a whole Doc's Daily show, and nobody said a word about it. I'm sitting there, and I'm checking the app like, is he out next game? He was nowhere to be found.
Yeah, I'm not for sure. The only thing I can tell you, it's a bright spot for Minnesota backers. Just back Randall on his points because the guy is playing out of his freaking mind right now.
That was my 7 yesterday.
Big time. Boy, New York would love to have him right now.
No shit.
They'd like to have him back. Now, let's talk about that. So the futures, let's get to a couple of these. The futures on the Knicks Pacers is currently the New York Knicks are minus 140. Pacers are plus 120 in that series. But I think you're going to find out a lot tonight. Now, I avoided this game like the bubonic plague. I avoided both game 1s. I said on Doc's Daily yesterday, I was going to avoid game 1s because, quite frankly, and this is what the Vegas Beat show is about, couple of guys that handicap and bet sports for a living, just drinking a beer and shooting the shit. And, get venting, not bragging. Yeah. But the NBA has kicked my ass in the postseason, just destroyed me. And so I'm going to shy away because just like you, and you and I have had this discussion many times over a drink by ourselves, when you first got with Docs and got in the bed, I said, you got to treat your client's bankroll like it's your own. There's a big responsibility there. And I thought the line last night was sharp. I thought maybe if there was any weakness, that might have been the total. We talked about that on Doc's Daily, which is on at noon Central every day, right here on this channel, by the way, folks. Griff's on every day. I'm on Tuesdays. But and of course, there was some weakness in that total. Now, I have a lot of trouble back in the Knicks. Their starter minutes versus what the Pacers' starter minutes were in their last series is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
That you think the Knicks would be tired coming in here. Now, the other thing, too, is that raises my eyebrow, and this line is 4.5 and 223.5 in favor of the home team in Madison Square Garden. But the Pacers were underdogs in every single game against Cleveland.
Yeah.
And they won that series straight up 4-1.
Mm-hmm.
That gives me some pause here. I wonder how you think Pacers match up against these cats. Well, because one thing I will tell you, which shocked the living hell out of me, the Pacers suck at rebounding.
Yeah.
You can't win in this league without rebounding. Sure. You can't. You and I did a lot of shows together during the college basketball season, and I told, even on Doc's Daily, I said, dude, everybody talks about, the point guard play, the backcourt play, and March Madness. That's everything. That's why Tom Izzo's won all these games at Michigan State. He's got a freaking killer backcourt. I said the reason that Florida's in this thing, Tennessee and some of the teams that went deep, is they're out-rebounded the piss out of people.
Yep.
And that's one thing that scares me about the Pacers, dude.
Yeah, Tony, this is before I'm going to talk about this specific game, because this is game one. And as yesterday, we backed off of game one. I faded it. I didn't take a side. I am on a total in this game tonight. But you look at this specific matchup, you kind of want to watch this game. You don't really want to bet a side in this matchup because you want to see how these two match up against each other. So looking at this specific game, the public heard already, ticket-wise, 70% of the money is on the Pacers, and that's to win outright. A lot of people are taking the Pacers to win this game straight up, and that scares me. There's a very big psychological concept that comes to my mind when I look at this. 70% of the money is on the Pacers. Currently, we know the total sitting at 222.5, 223.5. If that total is to go over, everybody in their grandmother's believes that's because the Indiana Pacers are going to put up a lot of points, because that's what they do. They are a team off of tempo and speed, and that is how they win games. Offense, offense, offense. So I look at a game like this, 70% of the public money is on the Pacers to win this game outright. You look at a total and it's sitting at 222.5. I think this is a complete reverse flip trap. I take the under in this game. I think, and I also would take the Indiana Pacers team total under as well. I think we're going to see a very interesting tight matchup, but at the same time, we don't know necessarily what to expect. So that brings me to not taking a side. I want to see how this game plays out. Once I see how game one makes, just like yesterday's game with OKC and Minnesota, they made their statement. And now we're sitting here talking about that game. That series is going to go maybe 5 games. Would that have been the topic of discussion before that game yesterday?
Right.
Probably not.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm looking at in this series right now. I'm not going to be on a side here. I'm looking at the total. I'm looking at the under, just for the fact of, Indiana, I just said it. They live off of tempo. They live off of points. I think we're going to see a reverse flip in game one. Give me the under in this one, Tony. After this, we can reassess.
Yeah, that's just it. And I think if the Pacers were to go in there and dominate and win this game by 5 to 10 points, just if, and they're getting out rebounded, they're probably the better team in the series. And then I'll take the plus 120, because I'm going to make a bet on this series. I'll probably text you later tonight. I know you had a late night last night, so I know you're going to be home tonight on the couch watching this one.
I'm going to bed after this.
Yeah. But at the end of the day here, I'm kind of feeling that way about this series. I kind of lean towards that under 223.5. It opened up at 224, so there's been a little movement on the under, a little bit of love for the under, and I can see why, based on, plus a lot of people bet off what they saw last night.
Sure.
And this is a first game of a final series, which makes everybody a little bit tight. And you also have two teams here that are very familiar with each other,
Or
and they're also familiar with each other from facing each other last year in the playoffs again. So I think when that scenario exists, stops become easier.
Sure.
And so that leans me towards the under. Now watch it end up being 130 to 128, and
Sure.
I'm totally wrong, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. It's going to be this is going to be a hell of a lot better series than what the Oklahoma City Minnesota series is.
Absolutely.
Which bodes well for Oklahoma City. We mentioned this yesterday when we talked about this. If New York, who played all those minutes, to beat up the Celtics, and they got to go 7 games here and play a ton of minutes because they don't have a crap load of depth there in New York. Then all of a sudden you got to go play Oklahoma City, who's definitely going to get it done in less than 7.
Yeah.
And they're the better team anyway. And they have depth, and you could argue they're better coached. Although if Indiana gets in there, I got to tell you, Carlisle did a hell of a job of coaching them up. Bear in mind, they beat the Celtics because Tatum went out. No, when Tatum went down, Tatum had 42 in the game that he went down in, and there was only a minute and a half left.
Yep.
So no, I'm not. But at day's end here, it's going to be an interesting series in this one. Lastly, I like to avoid game ones except for last night because I had a feeling about Carolina. Then I hedged against them for the entire series after I saw them just take a crap right in the middle of the ice. But Edmonton minus 120, Dallas plus 100 to win that series.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting, dude.
It's going to be a very interesting series, Tony. It's how poised can this Oilers offense be against the Dallas Stars defense is the true question. And again, we're in another situation. It's game 1. You kind of got to lay off of this and see how these two battle up against each other. This is not regular season hockey. This is playoff hockey. Dallas is at home for game 1. Edmonton, we just seen how many games they've torched and how many goals they've lit up, but they suck in the first period. Look at Edmonton in this series. Live bet them in the second period. You'll probably get some plus value. I think they've only been winning throughout the entire playoffs. I think they've only been winning in two games after the first period, and they've ended up capitalizing. They're here now.
Yeah, there's different ways to bet this one, and that's kind of the bet I'm looking at tonight, actually, just personally, just FYI.
Me too.
But this is one series I might not make a wager on right away after the game on the series. I will in the Knicks Pacers tonight. But I won't, and I don't know if I will. I'm interested to watch this one sitting on the sidelines. I lost last night. I'll take a pass tonight, and I'll jump back in the fray in game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Just wanted to mention, everybody, this weekend's a big weekend for motorsports because we have both the Indianapolis 500 and the Coke 600 down in Charlotte, which basically is a super speedway. And just like last year, we got Kyle Larson running in both races.
There you go.
So Kyle messed up a little bit last year, but made a good showing in the 500. Barely made it down to Charlotte in time via jet helicopter and a Learjet, but I'm sure barring they have somebody backed up ready to drive his car if he can't get down to drive the 5 car in the NASCAR race this weekend. But somebody asked me, being a big NASCAR guy, do you do Indy? I don't do Indy. I got enough on my plate, dude. WNBA now, and and now we're getting ready. Believe it or not, most of us are getting ready for football.
Yep.
It's almost June. We got to start getting ready, stacking up databases. Yep, looking at all that stuff. And I guess the last thing is just a generalization. Griff, I was on Twitter today and yesterday, and I don't stay on there very long, but I strictly was looking at the gambling space, the gambling arena, the sports betting arena.
Sure.
On Twitter. I can't, if you just took the time to look at it, there is more drama and hate.
Oh, yeah.
In this segment than ever before. Now, I also was following the WNBA drama with Ryan Clark and RG3, who, and Dave Portnoy from Barstool chiming in. You know, Caitlin Clark did a foul on Angel Reese. They're bitter rivals. They're bitter enemies. Angel Reese is a lightning rod for controversy. And Caitlin Clark has basically saved the league.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, between whatever year it was, and there were in the 20-year period, including the finals of the WNBA or whatever it was, I forgot the dates, but it was 15 or 20 years. They had 0 games, including their finals, where they had 1 million viewers. For the Fever, for all 22 games that Caitlin Clark was on TV last year, each one of those games had over 1 million viewers.
Yeah.
And then the opener this year against Chicago, your hometown, Chicago Sky, with Angel Reese in there, 2.4 million viewers. That equaled some of the NBA playoff games that were on TNT. I'm just saying. But now, all of a sudden, the lightning rod is racism. So, and I stay out of that conversation.
Of course.
You know, just like I stay out of politics. But when you get to looking in our space, in the sports space, everything's got to be a drama. Everybody's got to have an opinion, and that's the only opinion that matters. And if anybody else gives you an opinion, they suck in there. And it's almost like politics, left versus right.
Yeah.
And it goes on in our space. I mean, you read through some of this stuff. You know, I've never seen guys like me and you, Vernon, others, at Docs, August, that Scott Spreitzer does some social media, not as much as the rest of us. And you give somebody something for free and you're trying to, you know, make some valid points along the way in your daily videos about gambling techniques and how to approach things. And by the way, I always say, we're not selling grandma's bonds. We're not getting rid of the kids' college fund here on this pick. It's a free play. Do we want to win our free plays? Yes. Do we try and win them? Yes. Since 2017 and over 3,800 games, I'm 59.4%. Some guy has tracked me since day one, and he sends me email updates once a month.
No kidding. Okay.
This guy. But people will, and what's also unfair is a lot of times they judge you. At your net worth on a free play. But when you lose them, you are the biggest piece of dog dung and a scamster and a shyster and a no good piece of shit. And they lump everybody else in the company in with you, and the gal from over a wager talk, the other thing, and this and the other deal. And they're just going ape shit. You know, our mutual friend Joe Madden over at Sports Grid. They hammer her. The only reason she's on here is because she's got 2 of these. And she's pretty. And they're just doing it it's clickbait. You know, have you noticed just how vicious it is out there, dude?
Tony, it's absolutely ridiculous. Have you ever looked at your phone after dropping an 8-unit game of the year?
Oh, yeah.
Some of the things that I'm reading on here, people that were tracking my building down at my old place at Panorama in Vegas, people were in the comment section dropping my unit, my place, Panorama Towers. I'm sitting there like, are you kidding me? This is how bad it gets to where I got to hide. I'm walking around the casino with a hood up and my thing's knotted up. I'm so scared. Like, what the hell? It's chaos. Absolutely chaos. I know. I read it. It's an everyday thing. Absolutely. And you don't hear shit when you win. Not a word. Birds are chirping. But you lose and you are the scum of the earth. And we want to, I know. Don't get me going.
I always, last year, I had that kind of the middle finger to all the haters in baseball.
Sure. Oh, yeah, you did.
We made $100 player over $10,000 in 27 days.
Ridiculous.
Documented. And I put a link to the sheet and said, you don't believe me? Here's our spreadsheet that we turn in every day where all of our plays are public at Docs.
Yeah.
On Expert Picks. You go over there. It's the yesterday's plays, all the write-ups, the unit rating, and the results of the day.
Mm-hmm.
You can't hide from it.
Nope.
Boy, you didn't see one comment. A record-setting year.
No.
Record-setting. I mean, if I was being monitored by Joe Blow here or Joe Blow over there, I would have beat everybody by 8 or 10 grand in profits minimum with the system we're using.
Oh, I saw what you do. Absolutely insane. I mean, absolutely insane.
Dude, I was out there betting them in front of you.
I know. Oh, I watched. I saw. We were up 20 grand on the year. What the hell are you running? Ridiculous.
Our game of the year last year, I stacked 40 large. I sent you a picture of it.
Yeah. I
stacked 40 large on the bet. I had the stack of hundreds in my kitchen. I said, Griff, look at this shit.
I know. I seen it.
This is what happens when you bet the Brewers on the run line. Come on. But yeah, of course, not a one single thumbs up, not a like. And here's the spreadsheet. Eat it. Well, boy, but you're right. You lose them. You lose a 6-unit play. And it's one play. Bear in mind forget we're on a 9-1 run,
right?
And we up the units, 2 units over a normal wager. No, you're the lowest combination. You're a piece of you're just
shit.
nothing more than a scamster. None of you are worth a shit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but I was reading other handicappers or sports bettors attacking handicappers that were putting out stats that were relevant, that looked like something that raised my eyebrow. Wow, I never thought about that. And so I go in and I start looking at that thought-provoking angle, and then it said 27 comments, and I opened it up. You're a piece of shit. You're a shill for the you're a shill for the Westgate. I'm going, dude, and I know the guy.
I've even been told that I work for the books and that I'm putting picks. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm giving you free plays every day. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable.
Oh, the drama.
I know.
I will tell you, honestly, there are maybe 3, maybe 4 really legitimate, combination websites out there.
Yeah.
And Docs is one of them. We've been around 53 years for a reason. Lenny and I talked about this last week when he joined the Vegas Beat, when you were traveling down to Phoenix, so you couldn't do the show. We welcomed Lenny to the show. We talked about, and he talked about from the outside looking in how respected Docs was, by other services, by their peers,
sure.
And they aspire to be something close to it. And there's some good ones out there. And, it's a small world. We all know other people from other websites. And, I grew up in this business with a lot of these guys and a lot of these other websites, and I know them. And a lot of them lived in Vegas, and we'd meet them. I met them all the time. Whenever you hung out with me, I say, hey, this is Steve Fezzik. This is this guy. This is that guy, And there's a couple of them I say, by the way, Griff, that cat over there, you don't avoid him like the plague. You got to stay away from that cat. So there's some of that too. There's some of that.
Definitely rules to it. I know.
Yeah. But you won't find a more legitimate service where guys really, none of us wish each other any ill will. I want you to win, Nick to win, Scott Spreitzer to win, Craig Trapp to win every play. I want you to win every play. Because I want the site to do good. and we all have different opinions, and we all have different picks. And if everybody's winning, everybody's happy. But you won't find I think you mentioned it to me one time. You didn't realize till you really got into the thick of it about your first month of Docs, really how hard you got to work to maintain any level of excellence.
Dude, it is all day, nonstop, and people don't get that. I have to talk to friends about that. You just put out, it's like, no, I don't just put out sports picks. Do you understand the amount of analysis that I have to do, the amount of back testing data I have to do, the amount of everything, homework, nonstop, running algorithms, adding weights to different scales of my algorithm, covering every single sport, WNBA, NBA, NHL, MLB, player props. I mean, are you kidding me? This is all day. You're up at 4 a.m. You don't stop working until 3 p.m. It's all day, at least 3 p.m. Doing videos all day, doing shows all day. I mean, it's absolutely insanity. People think that, oh, they're just handicappers. They just put out one pick and they're done for the day. Bullshit. I'll tell you that right now. Bullshit.
Anyway, then after 3 o'clock, when you get a break,
then they all start and all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, then all hell breaks loose because you got to sweat out every freaking play you put out.
And then you go to bed and do it again.
And of course, these guys that want to, criticize us, they're worried about their $25 parlay card down at Arizona Charlie's. Meanwhile, I got a dime or two riding on all the picks I put out personally myself, plus worrying about clients, plus worried about getting the wins and the losses. So yeah. But see, I've been in this business 33 years, you 3 or 4. That's why you're still the good looking son of a bitch. And I'm an old, worn out, fat screw job. Now I'm back. I couldn't even handle Vegas for more than 8 years. So, I need to come back here where the life's pace is a little bit slower.
It's better
that good old Midwestern. Oh, trust me, I still got a little spot out in Vegas.
When I woke up, Tony, I got up today and I said, you know what? I miss Chicago. This is bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes it's best to take it a little bit slower.
Well, folks, that's this week's edition of the Vegas Beat. Just a sports betting show for guys and gals who like to bet sports. Don't forget your free $60 at DocSports.com. There's a link right here below us, as well as a tab on the website. $60 a new account, comes with a profit guarantee, no strings. Be sure and get over there. We got Major League Baseball, NBA playoff, Major League Baseball, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, WNBA. We got some golf coming up. I swept last week in golf. Yep. I told everybody on the Vegas Beat, Griff, you weren't here, but I also mentioned on Docs Daily, don't like golf, who gives a rat's ass? Just bet it.
Make money.
Pardon me. Same thing with NASCAR. So lots of stuff to look forward to. Getting over to DocSports.com. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back at you next week.